let's move on. Let's talk about God of War Ragnarok on PC. The PC port is coming. It looks like the same
Ragnarok.
combination of Santa Monica Studio and Jetpack Interactive, I believe, doing the port.
Yes.
They did a pretty good job with the original God of War 2018. So uh, the trailer is here. I'd say that, can't really tell too much about the quality of a port from a trailer, but it certainly looks impressive, as did the original game. But Alex, you've got issues. Well, it's more a presentational thing in that, they're trying to sell a PC port of God of War, and literally the only things they can really talk about are the things that they always talk about in a PC port, which is to say unlocked frame rates.
Yeah,
frame rate.
Super ultra wide.
Wow. Yeah, but like, so for me, the thing is, for a PC port or just for a PC game in general, I want it to be more than just basic. Like, the thing is, I always kind of want to have something to be better than just standard or rote. And so advertising things that all PCs games should be capable of anyway is always to me like really boring, and just like, it's like advertising the most basic aspect. Like if it said mouse support, I would laugh, right? Something like that. But like advertising unlocked frame rate, of course on PC you should have unlocked frame rates. Advertising ultra wide or even super ultra wide, presumably that's 32 by 9. I would expect ultra wide in a PC port of a game. Advertising 3 different upscalers, maybe 2 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, they actually have different upscalers. Wow.
They at least put the versions, like FSR 3.1 specifically was mentioned.
Yeah, we'll see that. I mean, maybe that's indicative of the actual FSR 3.1 launch date, because it's the first time we've seen it.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't know about that yet. They don't. Interestingly, they don't mention frame gen, because the version numbering doesn't tell you anything about whether a game includes frame gen, as we all know, because you can have DLSS 3.7, but it's just the spatial temporal. So like advertising those things, to me, it doesn't really excite me at all. But in spite of that, I thought their original God of War port that this studio did was generally very, very good. And the thing is, they also included graphical upgrades over that original PlayStation 4 version and PS5 version. Or PS5. People always get angry at me when I say PS5 version. Sorry, it's the PS5 version running in back compat. They offered things like, SSDO, greatly increased shadow range, which was great, especially for the larger portions of the game. Obviously, the image quality options and the performance. I like those things, and there's a lot of questions about what they would do here, because that original God of War port is DX11. They did it back then just for ease, essentially. Like getting things running on DX12 means a lot of manual labor. But here they kind of are almost going to have to do DX12 if they want visual parity with the PS5 version, at least. The PS5 version uses a very interesting system for reflections that's like they trace into a cube map, which we saw before with Mafia 3, except this time it uses hardware RT on the PS5 to do that. It's like it's a way to use the hardware RT while also not doing something expensive. To keep that parity on PC, I would presume they'd want to use DXR to do that. And that would mean it'd be a DX12 port, but that's interesting because, okay, this is also a PS4 game. How far back can it run on hardware? There's a lot of questions there that I'm very curious about. And would they take the time like they did for the last port, where they added in things like SSDO with like color bleed? Would they instead upgrade those kind of not too great RT reflections to just be real RT reflections? Maybe. I would like to see.
Is it a major engineering effort for those sort of the compromised RT reflections they have? Are they still creating like a BVH?
They still have a BVH, actually.
So it should be relatively straightforward.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, so I think they used like a lower LOD BVH to get just like whether or not something's obscured,
right.
And that was the deal. And that's what I recall from the presentation, at least. So they still would be building, some geometry in that BVH. And I think that was an interesting thing. And it's like just one step further at that point. So I'm curious, they did that before with Spider-Man. Nixies did that before, where they already had all these things, this geometry in the ray tracing structure. So they used it for shadows and RTAO and things like that. But obviously, so this comes out, and after the fact, there's a controversy, and I think rightfully so for a lot of reasons, of the fact that Steam page goes up. Also, the Steam page for another game that was showed off in this showcase, Until Dawn, and it's going to be a game that requires PSN login.
Yeah, I've actually got a supporter question about that from Cardinal Whale. Hey guys, exclamation point. Seems like Sony is doubling down on PSN integration for games on PC, and God of War Ragnarok will require an account. That means I can't buy Ragnarok on PC due to region lock, since I live in a country which isn't supported by PSN. Do you think it's a good idea at all to lock a chunk of the audience out of a game? Well, obviously not, right?
No.
I can't think of a single reason why it couldn't be optional for a single-player game. In comparison, Hellblade 2 was just released and didn't require any Xbox Live integration on Steam. And all the other games from Sony before Helldivers 2, I can still buy.
Right.
I mean, that is, basically it does seem like an almost sort of dogmatic approach to forcing this integration on people, which is actually turning into an own goal, shooting themselves in the foot by, the whole point of this is to expand out the audience.
Yeah, right. I'd agree with the person, and I feel like it's annoying for those people that live in countries where they maybe want to play this game easily. And the whole reason why it's a problem is, John's talked about before, you can obviously create a PSN account in another country, but you can't buy it through Steam because Steam is trying to protect users essentially from legal quandaries, or maybe Sony is taking it away. You just can't buy it on Steam. That's the whole point. And I think that's...
I was just as a quick interjection, I only buy Steam stuff from the American store.
The Steam store.
Due to that, the way my account was set up, like I can't even switch it to Germany. So I've just continued to buy on the US store in Germany and never switched.
Yeah.
Save some money though, don't you, John?
Yeah. I'm not going to switch.
Yeah, but so that's an issue in its own right. I also think it's not great for a single player game, because I think it's great to play games in Steam offline mode. This is questionable whether or not this would allow Steam offline mode. I also think it's great for Steam Deck users. This is a PS4 game. Steam Deck should run it well. Steam Deck does not have the what is it called?
The overlay.
The overlay.
It doesn't. PSN account login.
It doesn't have it on Linux. So the Steam Deck just can't maybe play this game at all. We will see. We'll
have to see whether it is actually optional or not at the end of the day once it actually appears, because it's kind of suggesting not, right? But to lock themselves out of Steam Deck would be yet another own goal.
Yeah,
that would be stupid.
That'd be dumb. But for Ghost of Tsushima, for example, they did mention on the page that yes, single player doesn't require the login, and it's optional when you get in game.
I think that was probably just a reaction to the Helldivers 2 stuff, though.
Yeah,
where they want to be extra clear.
Yeah, but they're not clear here, obviously, or maybe they are. So we'll see all about that, but I don't think it's a good move in general, and maybe it's just a generic move for Sony. The reason why they would want to do this is just to inflate numbers for how many people are logging PSN each month, and also to maybe get more data. Well, I mean, Steam's going to provide them data if they want, but give them more data about who and how you're playing a game with regards to, are you playing it also on PS5?